Van Stone from Philadelphia. Welcome. Of course, everybody knows me from the live show, and we're starting a brand new segment, as we always do here, just so everybody know. We're calling this the Reading Captains, the Reading Captain Show, and it's based on what we're going to be doing really new all throughout Philadelphia. And of course, we want to take this national. So in time, we'll let you guys know and fill you in what Reading Captains is all about. Of course, it's real easy to catch on reading, but it's really not what you think. It's more than just reading. It's like a whole fantastic program that's going to involve Philadelphia music artists, maybe international artists. It's going to deal with storytellers because you can deal with reading just being a storyteller. So you don't have to actually read a book, but the book is always going to be involved because there are some people who have difficulty with literacy, adults and children who can't read. So how we're going to do this whole reading captains thing is going to be really nice. We can tell a story with a picture book, or we can just have the book and tell the story of the book or take the subject. So this thing, I think, with Van Stone, our foundation is going to be really great. And of course, this is WVSR 1360, also Philly Funk Radio, and you're joining us. So, we really appreciate all our cities. We always say, what's up, not to Philly, but also to California because we're in different states. And today, I'm here with my number one co-host today. We're gonna have a new co-host coming in, and but first I'm talking about Miss Whitney, DJ Miss Whitney Hickson. She's here. What's up, Miss Whitney?
Everybody, how everyone doing?
All right.
Okay, okay. And today, opening a brand new show, my new partner, man, we go way back. This is Kevin Tones Dowdy. He is the one and only Philadelphia music artist, songwriter, director, video. I mean, it's just so much. And because many of you may not have heard about Kevin Tones Dowdy in a while, what we're going to do is going to have our first interview. Usually I take the lead on the interview, but today we know that Miss Whitney has interview skills and she has the background with music. So I'm going to bring the two musicians together and we're going to have a special introduction so that everyone can get a reintroduction of Kevin Tones Dowdy. Later on, you guys will go online, check out his music and so forth and so on, all the different things of how to follow and pick up where Kevin Tones Dowdy is without just us, WVSR. So with that in mind, I'm going to throw it to you, Miss Whitney, to start the interview. And I'm here and I'm going to be enjoying it as I may participate too.
Okay, well, hi everybody. Like I said,
Hello.
like Van Stone said, I am with G's. You always say I'm the DJ, so I say DJ with G's. My son, his friends call me Mama Doe because I do a lot of music with him and help him promote his stuff and get his content in order.
Okay.
Also, I'm a chef as well, so I'm up on here trying to learn how to do podcast, interview, everything. So, Mr. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm okay. I'm
You
okay.
okay?
Yep.
Good, good. I'm
Okay.
glad to hear that. So first, I just want to know a little bit about yourself, your background. What made you want to do music? Just give us a little intro.
Let me see how we start. I'm a product of the late '60s. So I came up on all kinds of music, everything from Barry Manilow to Bobby Womack.
Wow.
Okay. So I came up on a wide variety of music. My father was a drummer, and as a little kid, I remember the band being down in the basement in West Philly,
Hmm.
and they be playing, and I'll be sitting on the steps, at the top of the steps looking at them, and some of them guys are still around today, good musicians, and I think I was around 12 years old at the time. My mom and dad had bought an organ. I went out to the Springfield Mall. It was an organ center out there, and bought an organ home. I fell in love with it,
Wow.
and then I started to teach myself how to play. We had a few classes, I should say, and then I
Mhm.
kind of taught myself how to play, and that's how it kind of started for me.
Oh.
So, what instruments do you know how to play?
Keyboard. I play the keyboards.
Play the keyboard? Because I see some drums back there. You
Well, yeah, the drums. I do sometimes when I produce my music, I do some fill-ins, but I'm not a drummer.
know. Okay.
But when I need to have a drummer come in, if I have a feel for a live drum, I'll have a drummer come in and
Hmm.
lay the drum tracks down.
So, do you have your own studio where maybe like you
Yeah.
have artists come and you want to borrow your studio and everything?
Not borrow.
Pay, well, pay. I mean, like they pay.
Yeah, I don't do that type of studio work.
Okay.
All custom. Basically, make a long story short, if it's somebody I really like, I like to produce them, and there's really doesn't traditionally the way I do things, it doesn't cost money, because it's kind of like an artist producer type of deal.
Hmm.
So I actually take the risk of actually footing the bill for all of it, and in return, they just got to show up and perform and do things that we agreed to in the contract. But ever late, I have done some things where people have some ideas, and I help them develop it, and they pay me for the services, and then I turn the masters back over to them, and whatever type of deal royalty we may come up with at that
Hmm.
time, we that's all contractual. So, but that's generally how I do things with artists.
Wow.
And do you feel like nowadays that, back in the day, I feel like it was a lot easier to become a musician, a rapper, an artist. But because of social media, I feel like it's a little bit harder now, a little bit more work. It's more of an employment now instead of, you sitting out here, you make some music, here you go, you get famous. And I feel like it's not that easy as it used to be back in the day. How
Mhm.
do you feel about that?
I think the today's music, the difference between the time I came up and today is um you had to know somebody to make music. Okay, you had to know somebody that had a studio. Now it doesn't, it's easy to have a studio. You just have a computer basically.
Right.
Now there's different levels to it, but it's good and bad to that. Okay. Today, anybody can make a song, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the market is saturated with songs. And whether they're good or bad, it's not for me to judge, but you have to be able to cut through the noise, you know, because everything, and also things sound the same. Like I can get real deep on this subject, but everything sounds the same. When I came up, I'm gonna just take for the 80s, right? Going back to the 80s. We had keyboards, okay? When producers produced music, which I was talking on another other interview today, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, let's just talk about them. Those was my favorite producers. I could actually listen to the instruments they used. I knew they were using Yamaha products. I knew that's what they were using.
Wow.
Instruments actually have distinct sounds, and you had actual musicians. I am one of the last musicians. So meaning that you had a distinct sound, and then you also had musicians who had understood enough about chord structures and melodies and theory behind it to make it sound unique. So every producer had their own sound. Even the studios, the way they were EQ had a
Mm-hmm.
certain sound. Like I know that was a Motown studio. I know that was Flight Time. Different studios. They all had their certain sound.
Right.
Now everything comes out in a box, and it all kind of sounds the same. You know, and there's not a lot as much creativity now. Everybody remakes songs and sample songs. But what makes music different is that lost art. Like I understand the difference between an A minor and an A. A G sharp 7/9, a G sharp 7 flat five. I'm talking some lingo that other complicated musicians know, but these are formulas actually and chords that
Right.
make your music stand out. It's a
Right.
lost art. That's why artists like Bruno Mars, his music, everybody loves it because he understands those chord structures. His producers understand those chord structures, and that plays on your mind and your heart. And people don't understand why, but it's a missing element. So I can go on to different days on that, but there's a
Right.
science behind creating a good song. Now it's like just get in the box, just get in the booth, sing with us,
Hmm.
sing over a beat, and um, it's an expression I use. It says today's music bangs your ears, but don't make love to your soul.
Wow.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
I totally agree with you on
So
that one. I
yeah,
feel like, especially when it comes to R&B music,
yes,
there's no real good R&B artists out here right now. I
yeah,
mean, I don't care. Like to me, like Usher's okay, Chris Brown's okay, but it's nothing like when you hear like Earth, Wind and Fire. Like
hmm
let's take it back there, Smokey Robinson and all of them. Like the music is not the same. Like I don't care what R. Kelly has done. He had made hits
hmm
and his music. He did a lot of the work himself,
hmm
But then you got somebody like Neo, who's a writer, producer. He does all that, but his music is not a R. Kelly.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I try to explain to people that like people are like, oh, these people got mad hits, and I always say not more than R. Kelly.
yeah. That's like everybody has a different style, and when it comes to a song, my style is I don't rush it. It's like a child, there's conception and you gotta let it grow. Like I might have a thought in my head, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna rush it to give birth. It might be a few months. You know what I mean? And then over time, when that child or that song is born, now you gotta raise that song. You gotta raise that child, just like what you do with your children. So, but and then lyrically, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I, not every song, but we we have taken um music and the power of lyrics. Um, how should I say? There's nothing complicated about it. You know, the lyrics should be done in a way, or can be done in a way where they're metaphoric, you know, um, that make a person think, you know. Um, I'm just old school where I'll say my music it caters to predominantly women 30 to 60. But nowadays it's like even your dudes dudes are too cool to have romantic songs or like everybody too hard, you know what I mean? So they've actually taken love and feeling out of music. And that's
Right.
what R&B used to really be about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People had
Yeah.
to express themselves. But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't mean to ramble. I can get deep with this thing,
This
but
is
that's
this is why we're here. We're
those are the
talking
elements.
about this, because I feel like now that we have social media, and a lot of the artists back in the day, they didn't get that much exposure like they could have now. Like I'm stuck in an era. That's how I look at it. I'm
Hmm.
a '70s baby,
Hmm.
so yes, I love my old school
Yeah,
music. But also yet I was born to do the millennium stuff too.
yeah.
So yes, I do like some of that. But the
Hmm.
music to me is not as good as back in the '90s and '80s, where you could hear what these people saying.
Hmm.
You could see their actual life when they're rapping, like how they, like you said, it come from the soul.
Yeah,
To me,
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
some of these artists is just yeah 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 yeah, but the younger kids don't understand real music. They're
yeah,
only going by what they hear. So they're like, oh yeah, I want to be Nicki Minaj. I want to be like this.
yeah,
I want to be like
yeah.
that. And that's how they follow the women they want to do. That's how they want to rap. And I'm just like, no, like my son to me, I tell him he's a melodic rapper.
Hmm.
I'm like, when I listen to him, I really like listen to detailed things
Right,
that he say. And I'm
right,
like, okay, so you really are talking about your actual life, things
right.
that really happen.
Hmm.
Like some rappers I don't believe them, but
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
Because they talk all that like, oh, I got 90 million,
Yeah. Yeah.
million
Yeah.
guns, and
Yeah.
this is me and my soldiers, and then you wonder why y'all getting shoot up because y'all talking about guns and
Yeah.
rap, all that stuff. But
Well,
I listen to when I listen to music, I listen to it.
yeah.
Like I might have to go over and listen. I want to hear the words. I want to hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
You know,
And
and back
that's
in
the
the day,
lost
you
art.
did. That's how it was. Like I felt like you heard the music, you knew where it was coming from. You
Right.
heard it was from the heart.
Right.
And
That's a lost art, especially
yeah,
if you got to know your audience. Women like what they hear, men like what they see, right?
right.
So the industry now, well, let me I always put this out there. I'm not in the music business. I'm in the business of music. Okay. So I want to be clear about that. I'm not
Mhm.
mainstream, had opportunities to be, I got friends and family in the mainstream. No, I like a niche audience.
Mhm.
And being independent, it gives you that freedom. So the
Right.
reason why you see a lot of these things and hear a lot of things the way you do now is because they are under the thumb of the major machine,
Mhm.
and they have to rap and sing about things and overly sexualize music and do all these things because there's actually, there's a prison pipeline connected to music. That's a whole nother subject. But there's a reason why that that is the way it is. And we can see the results of that for some things that's happening right now currently
Right.
in the news. But
Right.
independent, you don't have to do that. And that's why I enjoy the freedom of just being independent and doing, what
Right.
I like to do.
And I feel like also it's been independent rap artists, not rap. I'm sorry, independent artists. I mean, of course they have to work harder
Hmm.
and spend a lot more money and
Hmm.
focus more a lot. They always say content, content, content.
Hmm.
This is my first time ever hearing in these past years about content. Like,
Hmm.
I guess because they're using social media, or you got to have your content, the algorithms, the
Yep.
streams and the
Yep.
videos from YouTube, the views and
Yeah.
all this. And to me, I'm like, they didn't have to do all that back in
No.
the day. They
No.
didn't have to worry about content. They didn't have to worry about streams. You're only getting 0.1
Exactly.
penny,
Exactly.
on your stream.
Exactly.
Like you're working for pennies on the dollar. You're still not making money, but
Not.
that's you want to be a mainstream artist, but you're a guppy in a
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't. I don't. I don't want to be mainstream. You can't. You can only do with so much. The way it's designed, like you said, you only get half. I think it's like a half a penny, on a
Mm-hmm.
screen. So my strategy is, you see, my music is free. You don't see it, you know, all over the place. You just listen to it for free. But
Right.
if you like it, come on out to my show. See, when I do a show, oh, I want you there, like, and you know my music just like you do other stuff. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the DJ now, YouTube and all other places. Now,
Right.
that's how you're really going to make up for your money because you're not making money from YouTube and all. I put it this way: even your mainstream artists now are complaining because they're not making money like they should be.
Yeah.
But the royalty structure and all like that is a whole nother thing. I can get to that later. But
Mm-hmm.
so at the end of the day, you have to love what you do. You gotta love what you do. If you're
Right.
concerned about making it rich and making being rich,
Right.
um, that's that can happen, but I put it to you today, that's not my concern. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to put out some good stuff for people.
Right. And also, like, I try to tell my son, you don't have to keep dropping music every. I'm gonna say maybe like once a month. You don't have to keep dropping. You need to promote a song and
Mhm.
let it flow with it because the next day you drop a new song, they're gonna forget about the song that you just try to promote.
Yes.
And I think that he needs to learn about that because I tell him, I'm like, Dad, you just let people like this song, and now you want to do a new song. I'm like, that's what your issues. I guess because he feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing, but he doesn't understand. Like, you can drop 1,000 songs and still be a nobody.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know your audience. Know who you're trying your target audience. And um I tell you, like, a song, the way I look at this is music is forever. Like, I plan on doing this as long as I can do it. So I might have wrote a song like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I'm still gonna promote that song. See, the industry has a plane where the mainstream, like if it doesn't hit a certain level at a certain time, that song is a flop because they've invested so much money into that project, so it has to make money for the bean counters and everybody else, the lawyers, the producers. So your mainstream artists traditionally, they ain't got money like that, because that album that they put out, um, the second out the traditionally, the second album is paying for the first album. The third album is paying for the second. It's called cross collateralization. So you never making your money. By the time you're making your money, you've been touring, you're burnt out, you got, you're living a reckless life, and then you end up on unsung. That's generally how it works,
Yep.
But that's by design. They do that to young people by design. But the songs just that you put out are forever. It's just like you can market it to anybody and everybody. You don't have to think it's just about a niche audience. And the mistake a lot of people make is they forget there's a older crowd or classy crowd or classic crowd who's starving for good music.
Right.
It's like younger people just think about their peers. Your peers is going to take that music and listen to it for 2 minutes and then say, let's play it out and ready to move on to the next thing. But you have a audience out there that is listening, a listening audience, and that's who you really want to that's who you want to hone in on. That's just my opinion. And that's what I'm trying to do for myself.
Right. Well, guys, we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay. Okay.
So let me say this while I'm gonna make a segue into the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
I've been listening to the music of Kevin Tones Dowdy. And offline, we've been talking, Miss Whitney, and I wanted to let Kevin know which particular artist he reminds me of. Since
Okay.
my specialty is, of course, being a DJ, the face behind the voice, Van Stone. Everybody knows me from radio station.
Okay.
He reminds me, I had said, of Alexander O'Neill, but also no Pointer. Now, many people may not know who Noel Pointer is, but Noel Pointer is a violinist, but
Okay.
he also sings and he does the same type of thing. He makes music the way Kevin Tones Dowdy does. So I don't know what do you think about that, Kev?
I remember that name, Neil Pointer. I have to check some of him out. Before I had the facial hair, I always got Kim. Everywhere I
Okay.
go, people like, you know who you? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I always got. But I've heard one of my friends said I've heard what's his name? Diamond in the Back Cadillac. What's his name? What's his name? What's his name?
That's old school song.
Curtis.
Mayfield.
I've heard that. Who don't want to sing Ghostbusters?
Ray
Oh.
Parker Jr.
Yeah, I've heard that. So it's just like I don't put myself in a box. It's just like, hey, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it, and thank you for the compliment.
Right, with the instrument and the music, the way you put your sounds together,
Okay.
that's the point. Both of
Mhm.
them, believe it or not, Alexander O'Neill, he has a part and plays a role in the sounds and the music and the instruments, but
Mhm.
especially no Pointer as well.
Okay.
So, what do you think about that, Miss Witt? Since we're about to wrap up, when it comes to styles and sound.
Well, that's what I was saying, because a lot of the people nowadays, R&B music is just not for the women. They are not for like making love. I'm
Yeah,
be honest,
exactly.
not making love,
Exactly.
not want to have babies. Like it's so hard to find it. Like me about to get married, it's hard for me to find a really good new song to walk down the aisle with,
Hmm.
because there's no energy in these songs.
Right. Right.
So, I'm like thinking about, like, I'm about to go back into like the 80s, the 70s songs that I really like,
Yeah.
that I feel the emotions, like Stevie Wonder,
Mhm.
like it's stuff like that I'm like feeling. The
Yeah.
new school music I really don't listen to.
Yeah.
I listen to my son music because
Mhm.
I like his music. I understand what he's saying.
Right.
But other music, honestly, it's just like I'm not feeling it. I don't understand how these artists even made it. how these artists, I mean, I know they probably look like they got money, but I know they really don't, and it just amazes me how that, the good music don't get heard. And that's when I'll be like saying some of that stuff is neo soul because
Mm-hmm.
it don't get heard when you got it like mainstream, like
Yeah.
you said before, Kevin. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And it would like to have some artists that are like into that.
Right. Well, that's why I'm glad I'm hooking up with you guys because I'm trying to reach that type of audience. And this is one thing I realized too with us seasoned folk. We're our thinking is different too. Like if our thing is if we haven't seen you on TV or heard you from the radio, heard you on the radio, you don't exist. But the new school, the millennials, all they know about all the technology and where to find new music. And
Mm-hmm.
but if if we can really promote independent music and other artists
Mm-hmm.
that do the same thing I do, um, to that older generation, that will help. I have been wanting to do something for a long time, and that is find other original artists like myself and set up shop somewhere where people can come out and listen. Like in my shows, when I've done my shows in the past, people know they're not coming. When I do a show, they're not coming to hear no covers. They know they're coming to hear Kevin Tones or some music that I produced, and they come
Mm-hmm.
to have a good time and go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that needs to be the trend, and that's something I think we need to start doing. I want to start it here in Philly.
Okay, with Kevin Tones, where can we find your music right now?
Mhm.
Um, and if someone wants to reach you, how would they reach out to you personally?
You can catch me at kevintonesmusic.com. kevintonesmusic.com is the website. Personally, I'm gonna be getting a manager soon.
Uh-oh.
I think I even gonna call him, and then we can go from there. You know, I'm not too highbrow, not like that. If somebody can call me personally, but I mean, I'm just not gonna get my phone number all over the
No, you don't
like
need to.
like that right now.
Nobody needs to,
But
get all these phone calls.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
once you come from, I'm like,
yeah.
oh my goodness, I got his number now. It's like you said, you can eat kevinstonemusic.com.
hmm
Do you have any music on Spotify or Apple?
No,
Anything?
I don't have anything on there. Um, I I had something I did with one of my artists. We had something on TuneCore, but
Mm-hmm.
right now, and I'm working some other things with one of my other artists. I might be putting some things back up on one of the internet stores. But right now, for me personally, no, it doesn't make sense because the money that you're putting out for it doesn't pay off for a little bit of streaming. Yeah, well, that's a little bit of streaming you get. So I'd rather right now just give it away. You got the website, you can listen to it, and eventually, once I get some management things in order, if you want a personal copy or MP3s or something, I can maybe make some things up for you. But right now, that's how you get it. I'm going to be shooting some music videos for some other songs, and it's free. Just come out to the show when we start advertising the shows.
Okay,
Right.
so as we're about to wrap up,
Okay.
30 seconds or less is what we
Okay.
always do.
All
You're
right.
gonna go first. What are your any final thoughts? 30 seconds or less. Okay.
Nonetheless, just enjoy. Hopefully you can enjoy what I do. I do this for you, the audience, the listening audience, and just go to kevintunesmusic.com and listen to it. Let it play. You like some of it, some of you won't.
All right.
Hopefully it'll all touch you.
And in 30 seconds or less, Mama Doe. You forgot to say Mama Doe, DJ
I
Whit.
did. Didn't I say Mama Doe, Kevin?
Oh,
I did say Mama Doe. Thank you.
30
I did
seconds
see,
or less. What's your
yeah, I
final
mean,
thoughts?
we would love our audience to keep coming to our podcast. We're going to keep growing.
Mhm.
And the more we keep growing, the more buzz we're going to have. We have Kevin down here that's making music. And like he said, come to the shows. It ain't about streaming. It's not about being on Spotify, YouTube. It's about live entertainment, music, real music.
Mhm.
It ain't no Little Dirk or it ain't no Chris Brown. This is live R&B music that, people want to hear nowadays. So keep getting on our podcast, and we appreciate you all.
All right. And I get my turn. Van Stone, of course, the face behind the voice. Listen, everyone continue to follow us here in Philadelphia. We have over 300,000 daily listeners. Come to fpnnews.org and check out everything. Of course, you'll catch the Kevin Tones Dowdy, I'm sorry, his music. We have the videos that are nice, and you can get to know a little bit more. We will be back here. This is our first fresh show, new podcast. We're going to continue this with the reading captains is the main theme, and we'll always throw that in around Philadelphia because literacy and the new thing that we're working on. We'll do shout outs as well, and one to Mr. Dorian Harris. So that is the leader of the reading captains, and you stay with us. This is the end of our show, and we will catch you guys next time.